All right, so young voters, in order to be a part of the voting process, there are several ways to get involved. Of course, there's voting on election day. The first step is, of course, registering to vote. It's too late to register to vote for this general election, but you could still register to vote if there's going to be a primary or a runoff election. But going to the polls and voting, if you can't make it to the polls, you can do early voting, which is set up at various locations around the county. All of the early voting locations are going right now. Or you could request an absentee ballot and fill that out and mail it in. If you're too young to vote, you can still get involved by volunteering and helping out a campaign of a candidate you support. Campaigns are always looking for volunteers to do things like canvassing neighborhoods, knocking on doors, calling people, answering phones, sealing envelopes and mailing out flyers. So campaigns are always looking for volunteers, and that's a great way to get involved if you're not able to vote yet. So a midterm election is an election that happens between the presidential elections. So presidents serve 4-year terms, but we have national elections every 2 years. So in a midterm election, it's in the middle of the president's term. The president is not up for re-election, but every member of the House of Representatives is up for re-election, and 1/3 of the senators are up for re-election. So in Georgia, there are 3 political parties that are actually legally allowed to appear on the ballot: the Democrats, the Republicans, and the Libertarians. In the voting booth, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a touch screen. It's got big instructions on it that are pretty clear, straightforward. If you need to learn about what the ballot looks like or what issues are going to be on the ballot, because there's always amendments to the Georgia Constitution that are on the ballot, most local newspapers will print the ballot the week before the election so that you can actually see what the ballot's going to look like and who's on it. So the best way to determine the candidate that is right for you is to do research. Listen to the candidate speaking, although a lot of times candidates are not necessarily going to be that open in public addresses. You should read about the candidate. You should go to the candidate's website. You should go to the political party's website and read the platform of that political party to know what policies you're voting for. It's also a good idea to pay attention to local media outlets. Read newspapers, watch stories that are done on the local news about the candidates, the positions they support, and things that they've been involved with in the past. The best reason to vote and let yourself be heard, really, if you think about policies that are being put in place right now by the federal government or the local government, those policies are going to go into effect. And the long-term results of those policies are going to affect young people as they are finishing college, beginning their careers, beginning their families. The way the demographics of voting work in this country right now, elderly people make up the highest percentage of voters. So we essentially have an older population that is enacting policies that will affect the younger generation that doesn't tend to vote. So I think it's critical that young people actually become informed and go out and vote so that they're voting for policies and politicians who will enact policies that are beneficial to them. It's very difficult. You have to basically be engaged in constant research to stay aware of candidates, their policies, what's on the ballot. Usually as soon as the candidates are announced, as soon as amendments are announced that are going to be on the ballot, I will sit down and I will research those amendments. I'll try to decipher those amendments. I'll call my friend who's a lawyer and ask his opinion on the amendments. I'm encouraged by the students I teach. at least this year, they seem to be more engaged in the political process than they have been before. The Rho Kappa organization, Social Studies Honor Society, ran a voting drive during lunch the week before fall break. And we probably got somewhere around 50 or 60 students registered to vote for the first time. And there seems to be a lot of excitement about actually going out and exercising this right to vote. So one of the things I'm hoping is that maybe in this polarized climate that we live in, maybe young people are actually finally going to be energized and go out and actually vote.